Welcome to TRP, everybody. Scott with you as always. When I think of country music, probably one of the last places that'll pop into your head is Montreal, Quebec. But sure enough, that is where my guest today hails from. He's currently climbing up the country music ladder here in Canada and in the US with his latest EP, Country Punk, right here. He now calls Nashville, Tennessee, his adopted home. Happy to have Manny Blu with us today on the record player. How you doing, Manny?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Are you in Nashville now, or are you back home?
I am. No, I'm in Nashville, which is home now.
Now?
Yeah, yeah.
How long you been there?
About 3 years. I came down at the end of September 2018. So I had a full year of fun before the pandemic here in Nashville.
And then you couldn't come home even if you wanted to, right?
Yeah. Well, I ended up spending most of the time at home because we're on tour when it all got canceled. And so I thought, go see some family for a few weeks. We'll hang out, and I'll be back in Nashville in a in a couple of weeks, and that just didn't happen. So I was home for 6 months. I was back in Montreal for 6 months, and then I came back to Nashville and put out an EP and played a show. So all was right again.
Were you a hockey fan growing up in Montreal, like a Canadian Habs fan?
Not a Habs fan, but a hockey fan, certainly. Yeah. I grew up a Habs fan a little bit, and then just stopped cheering for them. I just it became it became too obvious, and it became a bit too corny, and it was more fun to cheer for the away team at the Bell Center. So
Wow,
started doing that.
you are gutsy. You get to
Yeah,
you get to Nashville. You going to any Predators games?
I love the Preds games. They're so much fun. They're so much fun. Yeah.
You see them on TV, and it looks like a lot of fun compared to some of the stuffy suits in the Canadian buildings.
Yeah.
I mentioned growing up in Montreal, where, as I said, it doesn't necessarily scream country music for the most part. Before you decided you wanted to be a musician, though, you trained as an MMA fighter, correct?
Yep, I did. Yeah, out of TriStar in Montreal, which is one of the bigger MMA gyms in the world, I think. So at that time, I was in the perfect spot. Transitioning over to country music, maybe not so much. So I made the move down here.
When you ever play in a bar and a guy gets out of control and you don't need Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott, you can just go take care of it yourself and then hop back.
Hasn't happened yet. I was playing a small bar, and someone, I would close my eyes and I was hitting a big note, and somebody slapped me on the chest. I think they were just drunk, but that was super shocking when your eyes are closed and you're not expecting it. But it kind of ended there. I didn't have to take care of too much.
Well, that'd be neat. You don't need your own security. I'm just picturing the Jeff Healey and Roadhouse and you going nuts. You find yourself deciding that you want to be a serious musician, but it wasn't country right away, was it? I mean, you were kind of on the fence about what kind of music you wanted to be.
Yeah, I mean, I started music because I love playing. I loved singing, and the reaction everybody was giving me was really cool. And I'm like, I think if I really focus on this, we can make something really cool. Learned guitar so I can accompany myself, and fell in love with B.B. King and John Mayer. Now that's a bit more on the blues side, but I also like how John Mayer is super versatile, and he has he's got 2 Americana albums. He can do the pop, the super catchy stuff, but then he's got the super soulful blues style, and I think I've always thought his versatility was really cool, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken from him is being able to do a lot of different things within the same concepts and same ideas of who you are and kind of what you bring to the table. So it was kind of weird as John Mayer being your number one guy when you just started learning playing guitar. So that's not easy. They're not easy songs to play, but B, he really doesn't fit in the genre. So I was just I really liked his, singer songwriter kind of acoustic things. And then my friends all started, when everybody came home from school for the summer, or from playing hockey elsewhere, we would all hang out and play beer pong and chill on someone's boat or whatever it was. And we would be listening to all the country hits, and everybody knew all the words, and everybody was so excited when certain songs came on. And I might have heard them, but I didn't know them that well. And that kind of excited me to make music my friends would be able to to party to, I guess. And so that's where country kind of came into the picture, and I got to record my first EP in Nashville here before moving. Fell in love with the city, and a couple months later made the move.
When I listen to, I mean, obviously you're considered a country artist, but
Hmm.
you can certainly hear the
Yes, sir.
blues and the rock influences and everything throughout your music,
Hmm.
especially as the music has progressed. The latest EP, which is your third, is called Country Punk. Country
Yes, sir.
Punk kind of says it all. I mean, explain that title and kind of where your head was at when this was being put together.
Yeah, when I started, I guess doing country music, it was like I said, all the stuff that my friends were listening to it, and that ends up being a lot more of the sort of pop country stuff. And I thought, to me, I mean, growing up in Montreal, obviously, it's not like I grew up with Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash just like every day. So when I got down to Nashville, I realized that there's other things you can play with, and I was introduced to Cadillac 3 and Brentley Gilbert and Eric Church. And I said, wow, we can do a lot of really fun things, here. And that's kind of where it all began from. I said I want to add a little bit more blues and rock influence, and I think the transition from the New Ink, my EP New Ink, was kind of that changing of the guard, I guess. And people, kept telling me that I was, a little too country for rock, too rock for country. So where do I fit? Pick one, do all that. And me being, I guess, a bit antagonist myself, I said no. I'm just gonna go up front and say exactly what it is. I mean, I grew up in the 2000s as a teenager, so pop punk was like the thing, and that's where a lot of the influence come from. Especially with this new revival of it in LA with Travis Barker and everybody he's working with. So um, I said, why can't we do big notes and fast shuffle, snare shuffles and loud guitars and really up tempo stuff, but still have to the core the songwriting of country music. I mean, I don't see why it has to be one or the other. Um, it doesn't have to be super emo, obviously. It doesn't have to be, but it has a storytelling. But at the end of the day, too, is if I want a nice, complex drum fill or a blaring guitar solo, I want to put that in my music. And I'm certainly not the only one doing it. But just me being myself, and I like to get up in front of it. And obviously, country punk are two words you don't see together or think about together, and that was kind of what the attraction to me was it's both of my favorite things. And again, versatility is the main thing, right? We're gonna have, not every song is gonna have an obvious punk influence, or some might be a little bit more edgier and maybe not fit what you would call a country song. But as far as the entire project, and as far as my catalog as an artist, I like to mix it up, and I like to keep it interesting.
Tell me, you kind of talked about what you grew up listening to in the '90s. Talk to me about the single '95.
Yeah, 95 came through during the pandemic, actually, and we were sourcing songs for the Devil EP that we released earlier last year. Um, and I fell in love with it right away. It was from a band here in Nashville that my manager had worked with, and I think they had put it out or something, and they take it down, and they wanted to redo some, and he sent it to me, and he says, if you want it, I think we can get it, because I don't know what they're doing with it. And I said, this song has to be out. So we kind of reworked from their demo. We didn't think it fit the Devil EP, so we said we're going to hold off, and really was the reason we did the Country Punk EP for our second EP that year. Was I wanted to put 95 on a project, um, and before the end of the year, I thought, that is a perfect. I think a song like Train or Doing Fine or 95 are like the perfect example of what I mean when I say country punk. And that's exactly why we titled the album that way, or the EP, I should say. And we worked it. We put out a live version of it before really releasing it or even recording it. We reworked that version, I think, a few times in studio, and we came up with a final product that I'm really proud of, and one of the harder songs to sing, but always a blast. And love to play that song live.
It looks like it'd be a challenging song to do live. You
It
know,
is significantly challenging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we can drop it a half step or a step, but I mean, I think it's more fun uh to do it. I mean, and I feel so many emotions on that song. I feel like though I didn't write it, it's I think why I got connected to it right off the bat was there's so much parallel to my personal life in that song. And I might as well have written it, except for maybe a couple of things here and there. But um, I mean, it's just a song that hit me right away and said that I have to have it. And really, we built a whole project because of that one song.
There's a song by David Lee Roth called "Damn Good" that I may as well have written because it's about my friends. It's about my life. The You released three EPs now. You kind of touched on it. New Ink, Devil, and now Country Punk. Is First of all, is there any plans on doing a full album? I mean, is that something that's coming?
Yeah, we're talking about it. It's definitely something I want to do. So it's just a matter of time, and really, and I've always said from the beginning that if I my debut EP has to be a masterpiece, or my debut full length, sorry, has to be a masterpiece. And so it's definitely going to take some time to get all the songs right and make everything sound the way it's supposed to. I will be, until we do that, I'm not going to release music. So we've got the next 6 months kind of ready to go. And um, and it allows me time to kind of work on the full length and really source some songs that I think is exactly what I want the representation of what a Manny Blu full length album sounds like. So that's going to take some time. I don't have any real rush to get that one out. It's just I want it to hit hard, and I think I've seen that with so many artists have an album that you just can listen to over and over, and it doesn't, and it never gets old, and every time it comes on it's like cool, and every song is like, oh my god, this song and that song. So that's kind of what I want to do with the full length. And obviously, like I said, it's going to take some time, but we'll get there.
On Devil, you did some collaborating with other artists. You worked with Blaine Holcomb, and on Valet, which I love that song, by the way. It's a great song with
Thank you.
Brittany Kennel from
Kennel, yeah.
she's from Montreal as well. Um,
Hmm.
is there a dream list of people? I mean, everybody kind of does, but is there a dream list of people that you would just kill to work with, or
Oh yeah.
whether it's a realistic list or whether it's Paul McCartney? I mean, what do you got?
Yeah. um I mean, honestly, I love there's a bunch for many reasons. Obviously, legends like Travis Barker would be incredible, and Post Malone. But Robin Armelini's is she just seems so fun. And so to do a song with her that's kind of like chill and laid back. I love her song "Sincerely Drunk Me." It's just fun. It just is a vibe and it's cool. So Robin Armelini would be cool. Morgan Wade would be cool. And then the obvious one I think would be Hardy, because I mean that would go maybe a little too well, but that'd be really fun. So there's a few obviously on the list that are a bit of a reach, but you never know.
You never know. Dream big, my friend.
I gotta throw Avril Lavigne in there too, because why the hell not? She's a legend.
You did some touring with George Canyon before the pandemic hit.
Hmm.
You're headed out on the road now, I believe, for the next 20 dates for the next few months anyway.
Hmm.
You're going out with Dallas Smith, James Barker, Megan Patrick. Lucky you,
Yeah.
among among others. Tell me a little bit about that upcoming tour.
Yeah, man, I was so stoked to get the call. My manager called me. I think it was 8 p.m. on a Monday, no, and I was just home hanging out. And he never calls me at that time. That's like crisis or extremely good news. And I didn't
Sounds
know how to
wrong.
take it. I had just gone out with my fiance. We went for dinner, came back. I think I was playing PlayStation, and I pick up the phone and I'm like, "What's up, dude?" And he goes, uh, how would you feel about going on tour with Dallas Smith? And I go, you like, this has to be a bit of a joke, like, what do you, and he wasn't joking. And no, I just feel super, super fortunate to be given the opportunity. Obviously, I think the lineup is going to be incredible. It's like a festival lineup every night. How could you not be excited to do that? And obviously, I've met Dallas a few times, and he's been always super cool. And and I think that hanging with him every night and watching him do his thing is definitely going to uh, make me better, and the camaraderie with everyone else as well. I mean, I went to CCMAs and saw just about all of them play, um, and they just own the stage, and that's obviously something I always want to do too. So I just think it's going to be, you know, crazy shows every night, and it's just going to be a lot of fun.
I saw Megan Patrick once by accident. I didn't even realize she was on the bill when we got there, and man, is she ever phenomenal live. She's
Yeah,
just so much fun on stage. Um, you
yeah,
God willing, summertime comes and you're going to be able to do some outdoor stuff. Have you ever done like festival shows, like outdoor country music festivals, like whether it be the here in Ontario, we've got the Havelock Jamboree, we've got Boots and Hearts,
hmm,
obviously, is the biggest thing every
yeah,
summer.
yeah.
Do you prefer doing that kind of thing, or have you done that kind of thing, or is it just as long as you're on stage, you don't
Yeah,
give a shit where it is?
yeah, as long as I'm on stage and people are having a good time, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, I think that was the last kind of um bucket list type show that I had to cross off. Obviously, we've done fairs and things, but playing outdoor at a festival, we got to do that last September in Quebec, northern Quebec, at the Lobiniere Country Music Festival, and that was great. And I just, we were the first one of the day of the whole event, and as the night gets darker and the lights are cooler, and obviously the dreams to headline as many of those as possible, right? But it was a blast, and people came out, and it was raining, and it was wet, and it was grass and mud, and people still came out and sang along, and people came out for and I'm glad we played Valet, because afterwards I went and hung out with a bunch of people, and they said they wanted to hear Valet absolutely, and they came out just for that, and that's, I mean, obviously really cool, right? When someone tells you that, so um, it was fun. I got a hell of a crew on my side, and to be able to play such a festival um, is really cool. I love it. So yeah, I want to do more of them. Obviously, yeah.
You get to play the Budweiser stage at the end of April. That's a pretty big
Yeah.
stage right there with a lot of good people. The album is
Hmm.
called, the EP, I'm sorry, one more time, is called Country Punk. It's Manny
Yes,
Blu.
sir.
Thank you so much for being with me on the record player, Manny. I wish you the best of luck going forward over the next couple of months. Good luck with the record.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Stay safe, my friend.
I will. I will. Thank you.
Take care.